I want to talk a bit today about the Hitscan Hyperlight. This is a mouse that I may have missed the boat on in terms of reviews and hype sort of going around the community, but it is a mouse that I really enjoy and I want to do a dedicated review to it. So this mouse is really cheap. It's quite a nice budget option actually. In the UK it's £74, which is pretty cheap considering the Vaxi and the Zowie mice go for about 130, so it's almost half the price of one of those mice. Not only that, but it is also really light too, so if you're into the sub 40 gram mice kind of niche, then this is right up your street at 39 grams. It's really light, the balancing is perfect in it too. Something that I experience with lightweight mice when compared to bigger, sort of heavier mice, is that they feel really fast, whippy, exciting and reactive. So to complement that really lightweight and the whippy, sort of fast, reactive experience, something else you get on this mouse is a slightly further forward sensor position, which again, in isolation as a feature, makes a mouse feel a little bit more reactive and a little bit more whippy. So you can imagine those two things in combination, the low weight and the further forward sensor, makes this mouse feel really fun to use. The shell is really rigid, and even when I apply a lot of pressure in ways that I wouldn't ever do in an actual natural grip, I still don't get any issues with this mouse in terms of creaking or flexing in the shell, at least not that's noticeable to me. So that is really commendable. I'm really impressed with that specifically. The only quality issue that I think we experience with this mouse, which is fair to talk about, is the on-off switch. So everything else is, I think, pretty much perfect on this mouse. And the on-off switch is just slightly less perfect. It takes off a little bit of the quality veneer. It's a little bit creaky, it's a little bit stiff, but it's not a button you interact with all the time, maybe once or twice a day. So if you can stomach that slightly creaky on-off switch, then you can have a brilliant mouse here for quite a cheap price. In terms of the clicks, these are Omron opticals. Some people really love Omrons, and I love Omrons when they're implemented well. These do feel really well implemented, but I will observe, there's a slight springy sound to them. I don't know if that's pretty standard. I don't think so. I don't think that's a standard Omron kind of issue. On this mouse, there's a bit of a spring. I don't hate it, but it's noticeable to me, and it does bother me sometimes. But when I have my headphones on, I clearly don't hear it, and it doesn't bother me then. Good thing about optical switches is that they are like a long-term switch, so you don't have to really worry about them wearing out. They'll just work forever, whereas a mechanical switch will sort of degrade after a number of clicks. An Omron optical won't. So that's really good. You get good feedback from the clicks. They're quite nice and responsive, not quite as responsive as a mechanical switch would. That's kind of the trade-off you get with opticals, is that they don't feel quite as tactile and quite snappy. It does feel nice, but it just doesn't feel quite springy as I like in some of my Vaxi mice, as I've already described. The side buttons also feel really great in use. So you can hear how crispy they are. There's no side to side flex or side to side movement in the buttons. There's not an awful lot of pre or post travel. They feel really well done. Really nice implementation on the side buttons there. The scroll wheel also feels pretty great. My only observation is that mouse 3 activation, so when you press the mouse 3 button down the scroll wheel, it feels a little bit dampened or less tactile when compared to other mice I've used. It's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just not as crispy as I have on some of my other mice that I quite enjoy. So let's do a really quick button demonstration just to close out this element or this aspect of the review. One of the things that hit me with this mouse straight out of the box was the coating, and oh my god, this coating is insane. It feels to me like the best coating I have experienced on a product. It's super rubbery, very grippy, and it feels like it has grip tape installed on it already. One thing I'm not sure about is whether this will degrade over time, because it feels insanely grippy. It almost feels like it might wear out, but I've used it for quite a lot of time and I haven't noticed that it's gotten worse during that time. The software for this product, the Hitscan utility, is pretty good. You know, you download it from the website, goes onto your desktop, which isn't my favorite. I prefer the web-based browsers, but you can't have everything unless you pay that premium price point. You know, all of the main settings are accessible on that driver. It's quite intuitive. It's really easy to use. It's a nicely implemented software package, I think. Really nicely done by Hitscan there. I went from playing with the Viper V3 Pro daily pretty much to reviewing or trying out the Hitscan Hyperlight, and the transition from the Razer to the Hitscan was so easy to make because they're very similar in shape. You know, similar hump profiles, similar clicks, similar sides. The only difference really is this one's a little bit skinnier at the back, and the size overall of the Hitscan is smaller. So for a bit more of a detailed breakdown then of the shape, so it's quite a flat mouse on the sides, if I'm honest with you. You've got a bit of a flare out towards the back. It comes in slightly towards the middle, and then it flares out again towards the top. But those flares aren't that aggressive, and while there is a slight taper on the sides, the shape that's present there isn't distracting or overwhelming. If you want a flat side shaped mouse, then this mouse is really good, I think, for that purpose. Also, what I want to say is, while this does flare out at the back, the hump itself doesn't share that same sort of increase in size, is kind of how I would describe it. So the hump feels quite subtle in the back. It kind of comes into almost like a point here in the middle. Something like the X2H, where, you know, you've got the flare out at the back and then it flares out all the way around the sides as well. You know, you don't get that on the Hitscan Hyperlight. Just another example of this while we're at it, I've got the Atlantis here, the Lamzo Atlantis. You know, it flares out at the back and you get this big, fat, chunky sort of hump that presses into the sides of your hands on the Atlantis. You know, those two mice are kind of like, again, opposites to the Hitscan Hyperlight. It flares out, but it kind of goes in. It's a really nice, versatile mouse shape. One of the things I really enjoy, I've already kind of touched on it, is how flat the sides are. So not completely flat, there is a little bit of shape in there, not anything overwhelming, but it's nice because of how grippy the mouse is, the coating, and how flat it is. You get a lot of different options in terms of where you want to hold it. So if you want a fingertip grip, you can hold it from almost anywhere in this on the shell. It's really comfortable. It's really, really nice for lots of different hand finger positions. So in terms of grip styles, you know, it's great for most grips that I've used. It's very versatile in that respect. And due to its size, for me personally, because my hands are quite large at 21 by 10.5 centimeters, I haven't enjoyed a palm grip with this mouse, but a relaxed claw works really well, and an aggressive claw and fingertip works really well. The final point that I wish to draw to a close then is the value proposition of this product. You know, it's, as I've already said it, £74 in the UK. And this is one of my go-to recommendations for someone that wants to try something new. If you're, you know, an existing enthusiast, then absolutely give this a go. If you are new to the hobby, then the Hitscan Hyperlight is a really good place for you to start. If you can stretch to £75 in your budget, I think this is an absolute killer mouse. I think you'll have a wicked time with it and you won't be in a rush to replace it. I think it will last you a long time as well. The reason I would recommend it to people, again, just to close this one out, is it's a really, really safe shape, I think. I think most people would perform well with it. It's pretty much just a blank canvas in terms of grip approaches. You know, you can use it in many different ways, and therefore it will help you to be comfortable in your games and play well and perform at a high level, I think. All right, I want to say a big thank you to Hitscan for sending me this one to review. I hope you are all having a wicked start to 2025, and I wish you a really, really successful year. All right, peace out.